Buffalo Bills, center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt.
And I think he's got a coach
Shot by Sherrill.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Discussing the big sports stories of the weekend. This is Michelle and Junnie. With Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle. Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Michelle and Junnie brought to you by Superbook Sports. Good Saturday morning. Junnie Riddle, Nick Keyser in for Michelle Knezovic this morning. Nick, how are we doing? How's it feel to be back in the host chair once again?
Good morning. Yeah, I feel good. I will always say the same thing. It's fun going Monday through Friday, being in the chair to now being, I guess, on the other side of the glass.
In a different chair.
In a much different chair. I think Joe Dubin left this a little warm for me. He sat in here yesterday. But yeah, big shout out to Big Joe on the go for being in here for 102.5 The Game yesterday. But no, it feels good to be in here with you this morning. And so we usually have our fill with Frazier talking about Nashville SC. I will be going to the game tonight, so we'll talk more about Nashville SC. So keep it locked here on 102.5 The Game. But this morning we also have a different face in here, David Janes. David Janes, how we doing this morning?
I'm tired, guys.
Oh, David's normally in a much more peppier mood when we came in. You know, round two with David Janes. Frazier, enjoy your vacation. We hope you're having fun. Hopefully, you know, Frazier sent in his NSC parlay. You know, I really need that to come in because, you know, especially with both the NHL and NBA finals wrapping up way too prematurely.
There's definitely not a lot going on. If we don't have it, we'll definitely hop on it. We'll have to ask him, hey, how do you feel about Nashville SC going up against St. Louis tonight? Which, by the way, that's going to be a fun game tonight.
I was looking at the standings because, you know, now that all the other sports are kind of out the wazoo, I was like, where? Like, I didn't even know St. Louis had an MLS team. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I don't
know. It's one of their first seasons, I think, and they're doing really, really well.
No, they're number one in the West.
Yeah.
They're number one in the West right now. So it definitely big time. But if they were in the Eastern Conference, I think they'd only be like fourth or fifth. That's how stacked the East are. Nashville SC is still sitting pretty at second in the East, and I'm pulling up those standings right now with 32 points. Cincinnati's just it seems like they're blowing everybody out of the water. 40 points.
I've noticed that.
8 points ahead of Nashville SC, which is second in the MLS right now. So going to be a big game between St. Louis City SC and Nashville SC here in Nashville at Geodis Park. You will be there tonight.
I sure will.
That is a good one. But
taking it in.
As we kick off our Saturday morning like we always do, we are going to be hitting it up with our morning brew in a story that caught my eye yesterday. Was this whole Jamar Chase, Patrick Mahomes, and we know the history of the last couple of years with the Bengals and the Chiefs playing in back-to-back AFC championships. And Joe Burrow was asked a question on who he thought the best quarterback was in the NFL, and he said, no question, it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, how could you say anybody else at this moment in time? You know, he's won 2 Super Bowls. He's won, you know, a couple MVPs. He is by far in his own category, and I think that, you know, Joe Burrow being in his position, you know, that's the politically correct answer. Well, the same thing was asked to Jamar Chase, and he did not give a politically correct answer. He responded with, Pat who?
Yeah,
Pat
exactly.
who?
Exactly.
Talking about, asking about Patrick Mahomes if he's the best quarterback. So, Patrick Mahomes, and the timing is just incredible here.
It was quite impeccable because they just got their Super Bowl rings.
Got their Super Bowl rings, and they're all, you know, on the fancy stage, dressed up. And Patrick responds with a picture on Twitter and says, you know, basically showing his Super Bowl rings, like saying, this is who.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look, I would be thinking the exact same thing of like, look, I got 2 things clogging my ears currently. So look, when that happened, that's what the first thing I thought of was like, oh, okay. You know what? I think someone's been to the Super Bowl a couple more times than you have. But Yeah, that's just I mean, look, I do think Joe Burrow has the capability, don't get me wrong, but Pat Mahomes is definitely number one. I mean, it's
easily. It's not even a question.
Not even a question. It's undisputed to me that he is number one.
And
in this NFL.
until Burrow wins a Super Bowl,
oh yeah,
there's just no way that you can really put anybody over Mahomes. But I mean, again, if anybody's gonna be number two, it is
now,
Joe Burrow current in time.
If you do want to grade the no look pass and the last minute drives to win games, Pat Mahomes has him beat right now currently.
So and then later on in the show we're going to be getting into Ja Morant's suspension, 25 games by the NBA. The latest with DeAndre Hopkins, he met with the Titans earlier this week, just wrapped up with his meetings with the Patriots on Thursday, and it is still up in the air on whether or not he's going to be signing where. I think he's going to be kind of weighing his options, but we are going to go to the phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got Adam on the line. He wants to talk about DeAndre Hopkins. Adam, how we doing this morning?
Good morning.
Hey, hey, boys, what's going on? I'm sick of it. And sitting here listening to you guys talk about real football teams and real football players, the fact that we're having to grovel to DeAndre Hopkins, and I have to hear Pac-Man Jones come out and go, "Oh yeah, he's not going to leave." That makes me not want him even more. At this point, I'd just rather take NWI and the losers we have on our team and just roll with it and be a run-heavy team, because I don't like that, man. I don't like having to, clearly he doesn't want to be here. I can't even find a news story that he came to Nashville. I know he did. There was a report, but do you guys have any information on how that went?
Well, okay, Adam, I do know this for a fact. So he flew Southwest. I don't know how much you heard.
Oh,
midday.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
He did fly Southwest to New England. We don't know what he flew after that. It doesn't really matter. I just think it's hysterical. But I know that we're going to hop into it later. But, yeah, that's more or less the situation there with D-Hop. And, look, I've been kind of fed up with all of it too. They just need to have him sign somewhere and it be more of something to talk about. But I definitely agree with you that I think that there's something to think about with the wide receiver core. But, yeah, I mean, look, let me ask you this, Adam, really, really quick. So if the Titans did sign D-Hop, how much attention do you think that all the fans would give him coming in here? Because from that perspective, the Titans are probably thinking, if we get him, there might be more people coming to our games.
We bought Randy Moss a billboard. Nashville bought him a billboard
Yeah.
after he was way done. So I guarantee you, we are starved. That's why the A.J. Brown debacle, man, that's so sad, because we have been hungry for a good wide receiver, elite star for a long time. We get one, we throw him away. And so, yeah, we would probably, although D-Hop's a Titan killer, we'd probably end up embracing him. But here's my thing, and I'll let you go. This feels like the tight end situation 2 years ago, where they just did not have a freaking plan, and we just kept going. All right, they're going to get a tight end. There's no way Anthony Ferkser's our one. And then Anthony Ferkser was our one and our only, and our tight end position. I think we were absolutely the worst tight end group in the whole league. That's where we are with the receiver right now. I'm they've got to have a plan, and nobody's making a move on receiver. So it feels eerily similar and kind of goofy to me.
Adam from Portland, thank you so much for your call.
Right,
Obviously, not everybody in Nashville is super hyped about the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes, and we're going to be getting into that a little bit later, talking about our thoughts about that and where he is, where we think he'll sign, how he'd fit on this team. We're gonna get into all that a little bit later, but some more of our morning brew here. Mm-hmm. Ricky Fowler is leading in the U.S. Open going into Saturday. He is tearing it up. And for me, I've always kind of been a Ricky Fowler guy. Some people were turned off because he'd always wear the flashy, outlandish colors and stuff. I like it. I think Ricky Fowler has a lot of swag. I like the way he plays golf. I think he is definitely a reason why people still tune into golf. And he's never won a major championship, so definitely pulling for Ricky Fowler this weekend to kind of hold on to that lead. But Deion Sanders might lose his foot. Have you heard this story?
I have heard about this. So I don't know too much to it other than the fact that I know he's previously had a surgery where he almost lost his leg from what I remember. So I really think when I was trying to trace myself back to thinking about originally what had happened with him, I thought it was like, because I know like people that have like diabetes or something like
It was blood clots.
Yeah, but it was blood clots. That was what I was going to. Yeah, perfect. And when I was thinking of the blood clots, I was thinking, how much more serious could it get for him? He's 55 years old, by the way, and that's very concerning, obviously. And I remember when he had surgery last time, he was rolling around like that scooter-looking thing. I forgot what it was precisely, but I remember seeing that news, and he was rolling around and still like blowing the whistle at all of his players and still like, get up, get down. And, it's still not going to change his attitude about going about coaching necessarily, but that is very concerning for his health. I'm like,
well, he already lost 2 toes.
He has
that foot, and so I guess circulation, blood clots, like that's some scary stuff going on with Deion Sanders. It would be it'd be rough if he had to go through that. Greatest cornerback of all time, maybe, and a lot of people consider him the greatest football player just in general, with the amount of versatility that he could play with. Just one of America's greatest athletes might lose their foot, and I mean I don't know how that's going to affect his coaching career.
No, I know. So here's what I just found. So this is from The Spun. This is from Sports Illustrated by Sports Illustrated. This was on June 15th, so it's pretty recent. This was about the time that it came out. Sanders said that he no longer has feeling on the bottom of his foot where he previously had his 2 toes amputated. At one point when it was his post on social media, one of the doctors pointed out that there is a chance that he could lose another toe on top of what's already going on, or even the entire foot if it doesn't get the right kind of treatment. So we got to think about him. I'm sure that he'll be fine. The doctors will take care of him. Still very, very concerning, Junnie. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he's a living legend. I think he's one of the best athletes in football ever. And so
football and the fact he played baseball.
He did, and he said baseball's even harder. So
in some aspects, yes.
Some aspects. Now, swinging a ball at a bat is very, very difficult.
That's very difficult.
That's more of the stuff I've seen from him, but still concerning. Wishing all the best for him.
Now, the last story I want to bring up with our morning brew, and this one hits close home to me. My Pittsburgh Pirates were playing at Wrigley. They had a 3-game series where they got swept by the Cubs, which the Cubs are awful this year.
Womp womp.
So pretty embarrassing by the Pirates, who have had a pretty solid season. But they're now transitioning, and they're going to go play a series up in Milwaukee. So, Chicago, Milwaukee right next to each other. They're taking a Greyhound bus from one city to the other about an hour away, and the police escort winds up pulling over the bus because of suspected impaired driving for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they arrest the bus driver that's transporting the team for a DUI.
How do you – okay, I just immediately go to how bad do you have to drive a bus to get busted for a DUI? Like, are you going left? Are you going right constantly? Are you riding that little like what I don't know what it's called, but riding like that trailer, like the little bumps in the road, like on the side. I don't know what to call them, but like you have to be that bad.
Here it is. I'm gonna quote an article here. It says during the escort, the bus driver, 61-year-old Ronald E. Funderburk from Shelby, North Carolina, was not following the escort and was traveling away from escorting officers. An ISP spokesman said in a written statement, troopers observed more erratic driving and stopped the bus on the right shoulder of Interstate 94 northbound at Dempster Street. After observing multiple signs of impairment, troopers arrested the driver under the influence of alcohol and transported him to Chicago Police Department, said a police spokesperson. So obviously, I guess, like, even when you're just trying to follow a police escort, this driver was so impaired that he could not drive in a straight line following somebody and was drifting away from the police escort. I don't know how stupid you have to be to, one, drink and drive in general, but two, drink and drive when you're being followed and following a police escort.
Yeah, this sounds like a really bad chapter that was not filmed in Major League, and all my baseball fans will know what I'm talking about. I can't imagine if that was one of the scenes and the players were egging it on. Like, I know in the movie they fly on a really bad plane at some point, But I think if you had seen something like that in the movie, hey, that might be pretty funny. But this is not funny. Hopefully he gets himself taken care of and they hire themselves a new bus driver, because that is damn embarrassing, Junnie.
Very much so. So, to wrap that up, Pirates are going to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to be talking about that later in our betting segment
Them big,
that we're going to get into. But
them Nashville Sounds, babies.
Nashville Sounds. I think they're taking on the Stripers tonight. So we're going to get into all that a little bit more. DeAndre Hopkins later this hour. But next segment, Ja Morant has been given his suspension after the NBA went on with their investigation. We are going to get into the Ja Morant situation with the Grizzlies next. And was the suspension enough or too much? You're listening to Michelle and Junnie here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hey y'all, it's Courtney with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Warmer months have you working overtime? Be sure to visit Parman Tractor and Equipment for all your New Holland tractor and bush hog needs. Swing by our store at 3570 Dickerson Pike in North Nashville or give our sales team a call. We're now offering 0% financing for 72 months on select New Holland tractors. Get the brands you trust from a local dealer like Parman, always ensuring totally outrageous customer service. Visit ParmanTractor.com for the best deals on equipment, New Holland tractor, bush hog, and more.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Really? That's fantastic.
Presented by Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
The Nashville Sounds are having a block party today on Junior Gillum Way from 3 to 5 in honor of 615 week. There will be live music, inflatables, balloon artists, food trucks, and hair braiding and more. Head out to Junior Gillum Way before the Sounds kick off against the Gwinnett Stripers, I believe. They're playing the Atlanta
Gwinnett
Braves
Stripers.
affiliate this week. Good week for 615 Day. Bunch of Braves fans going
really
down
quick,
and catching the Sounds.
Really quick with the Sounds. Now, I think this changed last night, but prior to last night's game, and I think David wants to weigh in because I know what the feedback sounds like on the Sounds. But, no? Okay. But I remember that the Sounds, but prior to last night, they had not trailed in any game so far. Now, I think that did change last night, but the Sounds did walk it off on a grand slam.
Really?
A grand salami. I think it was Bryce Terang, who, by the way, he did get his MLB debut and thrived with the Brewers. So, good for him. The Sounds have a lot to live up to as far as last year goes, but it's always fun to hear about how they're doing. Little small update on the Sounds.
Absolutely, always. I mean, they won like Organization of the Year in AAA, I believe.
I believe they did.
I mean, they got good talent. You know, the Brewers are a good team. They're sitting second in the NL Central right now. So, but yeah, no, the Sounds they've been pretty solid the last couple of years. But listen, you're listening to Michelle and Junnie with Nick Keyser filling in for Michelle Knesvik. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Download their app and use the promo code THEGAME today. Okay. Back to our topic that we teased before the break. Ja Morant got handed a 25-game suspension by Commissioner Adam Silver. Here is Adrian Wojnarowski talking about Ja Morant and getting the 25-game suspension to kick off the 2023-24 season.
25-game suspension to start next season for Ja Morant. I'm also told there will be conditions to his return. I think those will be clarified here soon by the league office. But I think the Grizzlies, those around the NBA, were bracing for the possibility. It could have been even more. But 25 games is significant, certainly to start the season, at least for Memphis now. They know they can start their offseason planning with the understanding of how long they'll be without Ja Morant. But there's a lot of work for this organization, for Ja Morant, together to do to get back on course, regain the trust. I think not just for that organization, that community, but for one of the faces of this league, to regain that trust.
I want to ask you, Woj, before we go to everybody else. This 25 games, I'm not surprised by it. I don't think you're surprised by it. Based on the people that you've talked to around the league, in the league office, and of course with the Memphis Grizzlies and beyond, why specifically do you believe this was 25 games? Was it because of just a gun? Was it because you told Adam Silver one thing, did another? What do you believe, based on what you're being told, is the specific reason the penalty was this stiff?
Well, remember, 8 games last season, late in the year, and now 25 games. Here's one, and this is new, one jumping off point that has impact. If you miss 18 games now, there's a 65-game minimum that players have to play to make All-NBA, to be MVP, to win Defensive Player of the Year. Well, he's out of consideration now, Ja Morant is, for any of those postseason awards. So that will kick in with this new collective bargaining agreement. You know, you looked at the Miles Bridges suspension in Charlotte, 30 games. You've got to find some precedent here. And for the league, I think the Players Association, if this was half the season, if this was the entire season, different scenarios people threw out, there wouldn't have been precedent for that. But your history does matter. Ja Morant has been under investigation by the NBA for well over a year on a number of different incidences. They went through it with him last season at the end with the gun situation in the Denver nightclub. And again, listen, his career, his future.
That was Adrian Wojnarowski going in depth about Ja Morant and the suspension and how the league came about this. So, David, I want you to hop in on this conversation as well because I know you are our resident Memphis Grizzlies fan. Guys, do you think this suspension was enough?
Go ahead, David.
And also, let's not fail to mention that there are other requirements that he is going to have to fill. So, do you think the suspension is enough, and what do you think that some of those requirements are going to be when the commissioner does come out and address this?
I've already talked to David, but I want him to go first because he's the passionate fan, and I want to hear from him first.
I mean, yeah, it's very fair. 25 games, I feel like that's what I was thinking anyways, was 20 to 25. Very fair. From what I've heard from different Twitter spots and the Grizzly Twitter, he has to go through a process to get help with certain situations. From what I saw, I don't know if it's true or not, Ja was going through alcohol with some of those instances, and maybe rehab. I think that's a big thing. Just talking with someone, going to a therapist. I think that's really all it should be that he needs to do. I mean, obviously, I don't know what else Adam Silver wants from him. But I think that is the main things that should happen.
Okay. All right. So you think it was a good decision, 25 games. For me, personally, I don't think 25 games was enough.
Now, what do you think he should get then?
I thought he should have got half the season.
Really?
Like, I thought they should. I felt like this was not laying the hammer down on a situation like this.
Did you see what the PA said about it?
No, what'd they say?
The PA's pretty pissed that he got 25 games and said it's pretty long. They don't like it whatsoever.
I mean, of course, the Player Association and the union is going to say that it was too long. And this, like, I just think that the look of it, the NBA doesn't want that kind of look for their league. They want
of course they don't. Yeah.
And especially, like, you got to think, if this was anybody else on the Grizzlies, let's say it's just an average role player, would they have gotten the same treatment? No. It's because Ja Morant is such a superstar. It is because he is such a great player that they don't want to do this. Listen, there are guys in the league that are sitting out numerous games, and some of which aren't even playing in 25 games by their own choice, for saving themselves for the playoffs, the rest, the load management, and it's something that's been hurting the NBA a lot. And so when I see this, and I'm thinking, okay, 25 games of an 82-game season, that's about roughly a little over a quarter of the season. I'm like, is that really doing a lot for the Grizzlies? Is that really going to hurt them? Is that really going to set the standard for this? Because listen, if it was one instance, I get it. 25 games is a lot. Mm-hmm. But for what we know and what the NBA was investigating in general, I don't think it was enough, especially with the whole narrative of him showing up to the mall and obviously this isn't, this is allegedly that he did this, but fighting a 17-year-old like in the streets and allegedly, again, this isn't proven, this is an ongoing case, but possibly pulling a gun out on him. These things and all of these actions that he has put towards this in the public eye that have been out, I just don't think that 25 games is enough, especially after it should have already been addressed initially with his first suspension. The fact that he didn't get it and the fact that he's gotten all this bad press with everything that's been going on, allegedly, facts, whatever, the fact that it had to be addressed again, to me, felt like you needed to really, really lay the hammer down.
Well, I think here's the perfect microcosm for it. And I had this in my Game Center update yesterday, where Ja had his own statement, and he said that this is a bad example for kids. I need to rethink how I am approaching everything. Look, that is definitely what you need to be thinking. Obviously, he may have some help with how, hey, you need to be thinking about these things. Now, those are his words, and that's what we got yesterday. That's what matters. But here's what I'm really wanting to share really quickly here is, here's what their statement said from the NBA for Ja. This is, I'm assuming it's Silver that's coming out and saying this, is for Ja, basketball needs to take a step back right now, take a back seat at this time. Prior to his return to play, he will be required to formulate and fulfill a program. We've already been talking about that. I'd love to know more details about what that is, to be honest with you.
For sure want to know more details
now,
on
it says that directly addresses the circumstances that led to him to being a repeat, just this destructive behavior. And look, that's destructive, is, I think, perfect for it, but you could probably find a better word that is for this. Like you said, he's done so many things. This last year has not been a good PR look for him whatsoever. Doesn't matter if it's legit, doesn't matter if he's under investigation. Now, the gun thing, and that's a problem for me, and especially now, I know Nashville's very sensitive to this right now for a good reason. And I know a lot of people are going to have their own thoughts about him. You're very, very welcome to have those thoughts. At the very, very end of the day, he is a growing superstar still. He's a young man in the NBA that needs to step up and get more mature, or there's going to be significant consequences for him moving forward. And look, I think I would love to have been a fly on a wall for those conversations, because I wonder how much in jeopardy his career could have been.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, I think there is merit to your argument saying, hey, maybe do half of the season, but I'm going to remind you of this too, and then we can go to break and talk about it more if you want. But I really think the thing that stands out to me is if this program doesn't go well for him, I mean, it's duly noted that he has to do well in these programs, then he gets to come back because it's 25